they get now is slogans, give the gift of life. They aren't told the facts. So we want fully informed consent for organ donation.
Do you know that just had the 1 year birthday party for my granddaughter, and one couple came over, two couples came over that are in their early 80s, dear friends of ours. And she went to the hospital with really high blood pressure. She's like 81, but she's out and doing and whatever. And she goes to the hospital with this high blood pressure. I mean, like stroke level blood pressure. Mm-hmm. They did nothing for her. They told her, oh, you go home, contact your doctor. She said they looked at how old I was and they were not going to spend any time or money on me. They sent me home. And yet it was clear my blood pressure was at a level that there was stroke possibility. And my wife has a medical social work background and follows a lot of this stuff. She said, Brandon, I'm convinced that a lot of these older people, they are letting them die, and they could save them. So we need to come back and talk about these things as well. Sound good, guys?
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Look at the book. Look at the book here. The Brain Death Fallacy, Dr. Heidi Klesdig. It's spelled Klessig. Okay? All of you should get it. And her website, again, is respectforhumanlife.com. And of course, Tamara Scott's on every day here on Worldview Tube at noon Central, 1 Eastern, right here at Worldview Tube. Thank you, Heidi. Thank you, Tamara. Hey, thank you for watching and listening. Take care.
Colonel Rob Maness has a lifelong record of providing dedicated service to this nation. Having worked his way up from the enlisted ranks to full colonel, he served our country for more than 32 years. He has served as a bomber squadron commander, bomb disposal technician, Joint Chiefs of Staff Operations Officer, assisted the National Security Team with the campaign plan for the global war on terrorism. He authored the first theater nuclear war plan, and served as the Vice Commander of America's largest airborne intelligence wing. Colonel Rob Maness is a true American hero. This is Rob Maness Live.
Well, I get the bonus payment, but do you think there should be maybe like ongoing reparations or perennial reparations for these people that had to go through all this?
I think that there should be some kind of a one-time repayment, but there also needs to be opportunities to help people get their careers back on track. And we actually have people who are still in the service that are being punished even today for refusing the COVID shot. So for instance, Commander Rob Green, who's been on the program, who wrote the book Defending the Constitution Behind Enemy Lines, he's currently being investigated for remarks he's making on X. He's calling for accountability for these flag officers, and instead of going after different JAGs and lawyers who are saying bad things about the president, about Secretary of Defense Hegseth, they're going after him. You have another Major Skillerport who he refused the flu shot. He had his pay suspended. He refused the COVID shot, but now the flu shot. So there's kind of a continuing, and until you really get rid of a lot of these flag officers, these general officers, they're going to continue to push their influence in different ways.
Welcome back to Truth Thursday. The Rob Maness Show is live on Worldview 2 and our X Spaces simulcast. Well, military vaccine punishment, it's continuing. In our series covering current members of the active, reserve, and National Guard forces is also continuing. And they are still being punished by over-the-top enforcement of never-seen-before vaccine mandate implementation. That continues. These rash of flu shot punishments are even more ludicrous at their root and are an outgrowth of the unlawful enforcement of the COVID shot unlawful order. There are still serving military members that are being harmed for the vax mandate under COVID, and we're highlighting these men and women to get their stories out because, look, folks, the lunacy will continue until the commanders responsible are held accountable for their actions and solid, reasonable policy is implemented and how to approach these issues is implemented. Well, Technical Sergeant William Tony Oslin is my guest today. Tony is a member of the Air National Guard who works in logistics and has been denied reenlistment. after a very long career in the Air Force because he has decided that he doesn't want to take the flu shot. Now, here's the disclaimer. Tech Sergeant Oslin's opinions are his own and don't represent the Department of the Air Force or the Department of Defense or the National Guard in any way whatsoever. Tony, welcome to the Rob Maness Show, sir.
Thank you for having me, Colonel.
Well, I appreciate you coming on. I guess first, talk people through your career in the Air Force and the Guard a little bit, because you've been in it a long time. I mean, this isn't like, it's not like you were born yesterday and it's on your first enlistment. So you understand what's going on. But just to give people an understanding about your career and what the different terminology of the different types of positions that you've occupied and what you hold now is.
Okay. So originally, I was 18, 19 years old. I joined the active duty Air Force. That was in 91 to 95. Got stationed in Valdosta, Georgia at Moody Air Force Base. Spent 4 years there. I got out. I was newly married. We had our first child, and I was raised in the Air Force. My dad was in for 20 years. My stepdad was in for 20 years. So I did not want my kids to be having to be raised traveling around from place to place, station to station. So we discussed on getting out, and we did that. We moved home, raised our kids, and I guess I was right around 40 years old when I joined back up, and I joined the National Guard, and then so that was in 2013, and been in the Guard since, and I got a full-time position. At National Guard, you're Title 32, and you can be a technician. You can work out there full-time, and then do your drill status, your drills on the weekend whenever they're due. And so I did that, and that turned into an active Guard reserve position, which is just like active duty. So as a technician, you're a state employee, but then when you are on AGR, it's just like being on active duty, and except for you don't have to move. You stay there at your base that you're at. So I did that, and then along came 2020 and COVID, and then the shot mandate come down in 21, and I knew from my religious convictions that I did not want to take part of that. It being an experimental shot. I'm a deacon in my church. I got a relationship with the Lord, and me and my wife talked about it, and it was before the mandate came down. We were talking about it and discussing it, and we both decided. She was a teacher at the time, so she worked for the state also, and we both decided we were not going to take the shot. And luckily, our state passed a law that stated that you would not be forced to take any kind of shots that were not already on the vaccine schedule or not already approved. I think is how it was worded. So anyway, when COVID did get approved, she did not have to partake in the shot. I continued and submitted my RAR. At the time, I didn't even know that you could do such a thing.
Right.
No one within the administration had told anyone that I know of that you could have a religious accommodation request. So I submitted one, and I actually told my commander before it became a shot mandate, because we were talking one day, and he said pretty soon we're all going to line up and take a shot in the arm, and we're going to go on about our business. And I told him, I said, well, I'm not. So I gave him a heads up that I wasn't. And so at that point, after that conversation, our relationship changed a little bit. In the Guard, kind of got a family atmosphere. But at that point, I could tell that things had changed. So I went through and submitted my request, and well, it never got adjudicated. So it came around in 22, I think it was. I was due for a flu shot, and so I submitted one for all immunizations, and then after that, the it all changed. And but I've been in for a total of 16 years. December will complete my 16-year mark, but my enlistment's up in September, and I've been informed I can't re-enlist, so I don't know if I'll finish that 16-year mark or not.
So are you still active Guard and Reserve, AGR?
So I was up until August of last year. So during this process, my command decided they were going to curtail my orders for AGR, thinking that would get rid of me. And because he said that he was going to curtail my orders, and it was going to be within 30 days. And I was like, okay, well, to show you how the Lord works, 2 days before that meeting, I got a email from the state headquarters saying that my USERRA rights were about to expire. And for those that don't know what that is, it's a law that protects service members that are on orders to be able to go back to their previous position if they choose to, or they can remain on orders. I think it's a 5-year 5-year limit, basically. After 5 years, you cannot invoke your USERRA rights. But I was within that 5 years, and I got the email saying, hey, you want to go back to a technician status, or you want to stay on AGR? And I actually thought I'd passed that time frame. Didn't know it was an option. And I got the email, and so I discussed with my wife, and it was going to be a pretty substantial pay cut, and but we both agreed to it, and I knew that I would be able to remain employed instead of being without a job after 30 days. Because when you're an AGR, they can just cut you off whenever they want to, if they have what they call grounds, and they were basing the fact that I was not getting my shots as their grounds. So
you mentioned.
Go
ahead, Tony.
I just said I threw a little bit of a curveball to them whenever I invoked those rights, and went back to an AGR technician.
So just so folks understand, you went back to your previous status as a National Guard technician, where you do your guard duty on the weekend a month and your 2 weeks camp and all that, but you're there as a civilian working for the state in the same job, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, it gets a little complicated.
Right, but for those that don't understand, the Guard has to have people out there through the week and through the month to keep everything going. For those that come in on the weekends, the once a month thing, and that's what the technicians are, and they're broke up in. It's called a Title 32 program. They're broke up into active Guard reserves and state technicians. There's pay differences, but there's other benefits. There's benefits for both sides, just depending on how you want to look at it.
Yeah. So you mentioned that your RAR for the COVID shot was never adjudicated. Do you know why that happened that way?
I do not. There's been speculation that people have said, well, that happened across the South. A lot of the people in the South, or a lot of the units in the South, slow rolled it. But I know of other people that sent some up that were in our squadron, that theirs came back denied, just like all of them were at that time. They were coming back denied. I don't know of anyone that actually got one approved. And so, and it was all the commanders that I know of, except for one or two, were, because you got to submit, when you submit your package, you got to have a commander endorsement, is what they call it. And endorsement either endorses it or it recommends to have it denied. And all of them that I know of were being denied by the commanders too. So it goes up to higher Air Force, and they decide it. And then it comes back down for an appeal process. But mine never did get adjudicated. And what was it, January, March of 23, I think it was, the mandate got pulled back, rescinded.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So at that point, I was in the clear for the COVID one. So
Right. So on the COVID process, how did the law you mentioned? We got about a minute before we have to go to a commercial break. How did the law the state passed impact the commanders forcing people to take that?
Well, I don't know. That would I think that so during that same time frame, the bunch of contractors and civilian contractors in Huntsville, Alabama, where Redstone Arsenal is, which is big DOD employment. They filed a lawsuit, and I think that also helped slow up the process of approving and sending up the packages.
All right. Well, we got to take a commercial break. When we come back, I want to jump into the flu shot a little bit more with you, Tony, and talk about your religious accommodation requests there and any other exemption requests you've made and how that process worked or did not work for you. We'll be right back with Technical Sergeant Tony Oslin of the Air National Guard right here on Truth Thursday.
Yeah, probably like you. I took all the vaccines. I didn't question them. I didn't push them. It wasn't an area of study. I didn't question them. I was never harmed by a vaccine. But now that we examine it, like the flu shots, I took 40 flu shots, 40 of them. Yeah, I was to be on medical staff. Do you know there's prospective randomized data showing that if you take these flu shots, you do reduce the rate of influenza a little bit. No protection against hospitalization or death, but you have an increased risk of getting the common cold. And that was what's happening with me. Yeah, I was on primetime TV and people say, "Doc, you're sick all the time." And I think it was all these flu shots. So I stopped taking them. I haven't had a flu shot in 3 years, and I'm finally getting my health back.
Welcome back to the Rob Maness Show. It's Truth Thursday, and we're highlighting and spotlighting really another military member. This time, a Air National Guardsman, guard technician from the Alabama Air National Guard, Tony Oslin. He's a technical sergeant, and Tony. Was the flu shot specifically something you were concerned about? Like Dr. McCullough there is talking about vaccine interference where, and we've seen even a DOD report where you have a little bit over a 4% chance of getting another respiratory infection if you get the flu shot that a lot of people don't even know about that study. And that's sponsored by the DOD. So we're starting to hear about all these studies and adverse reactions from the flu shots. Was that specifically part of the reason why you initiated the second religious accommodation request, or because you mentioned they were all shot vaccines in general?
Yes. So up until, like I said, up until COVID, I took the shots that they said were required because I didn't know you could put in an accommodation. I knew that my direct supervisor was allergic to the flu shot, and so he didn't. He had a medical exemption, and I thought those were the only kind of exemptions you could have. So I took the flu shot every year. I think since, well, I say every year, ever since I joined back up in the Guard, I took the flu shot. So I've had 9, and I haven't had one since 21. But every year I would get sick within, I don't know, 2-3 weeks to a month after getting it. We typically didn't get our allotment or shipment in until December, so it was usually December drill time frame whenever we would get our shots. And every year about Christmas, I would come down with some sort of head cold, some sort of fever, congestion types of stuff. And when I go to the doctor, they would say, no, it's not the flu, it's rhinovirus. Well, that study that you're talking about from the DOD, it actually states in that study, if I ain't mistaken, that one of the illnesses that you get from getting the flu shot is rhinovirus. And so, and they have flu-like symptoms, the same type symptoms. And if you notice, most of those respiratory illnesses they all have the same type symptoms, even COVID. So they have not ever made the association. If they have, they hadn't made it public. But people, because we've talked about it down there at work before, everybody's like, yeah, I hate getting the flu shot because I get sick after it. So it's a common known thing among the military members that you get sick after getting the flu shot. Now, I like Dr. McCullough, have not taken it since 21, and I haven't been sick. I've also changed my diet. So, but I changed my diet before 2020. So, I don't know. I think that has something to do with it, but I don't think it has as much to do with it as not taking the shots, because so in that 18-year break in service I had, I never took the flu shot. When I was active duty, I did not take the flu shot. The military tried to say that it was required then, but I never took one. And so if it was required, it wasn't enforced.
Well, when I was a commander, I mean, we never gave a direct order to take a flu shot. We treated that differently than the shots required to deploy to a war zone. Like I took the anthrax shot until they stopped it because of the same reason that the COVID shot was stopped. It was experimental and was causing people, not me, but a lot of other people, great harm and everything. This flu study, though, it's interesting because it's dated in 2018, which is before COVID-19, but it highlights COVID viruses and a coronavirus, which is a cold, basically, as being the more susceptible by that 4.5%, I think, if you get the flu shot. So, logically, I would think that they would need to be telling you as part of informed consent that your chances of getting something like COVID or respiratory disease could increase if you take the shot. Have you ever been told that?
I have not, sir. Not by any medical professionals or anyone within the military. I don't know how many people know this. I didn't until recently. COVID vaccines and influenza vaccines are since 2009, they have been in the PrEP Act as countermeasures that are covered. The people administering them are covered under the PrEP Act for litigation against them. So why would coronavirus vaccines and flu vaccines need to have liability shields? Why would those personnel, if the shots were for your health and ran no risk of injuring or making anyone ill? That's just a question.
Yeah, that's a great question. As a matter of fact, a congressman just filed a new bill, I think yesterday or today, to eliminate the liability shield for vaccine manufacturers. Giving them a liability shield really didn't make any sense anyway. But there's an attempt to give liability shields to chemical manufacturers for agriculture chemicals that would have the same effect as giving immunity to the people that made Agent Orange. And all the Vietnam veterans that have been severely impacted and died because of Agent Orange. It just makes no sense. We need to push back on these liability shields for these manufacturers, because it doesn't seem to me, and I don't know if in the official capacity, if the Air National Guard addressed it at all in the duty to inform consent to that these emergency use authorization vaccines. First of all, it's an mRNA vaccine, the COVID one, and I think it's coming out in the flu version too, which is why I've stopped taking flu shots 2 years ago. I stopped taking them because of that. I'm not going to take another mRNA shot. And I have very, very high antibody levels from the COVID shot that I took in 2020. I was in one of the first rounds as a volunteer test subject, and just got an antibody test a month ago, and it's through the roof, way off the scale for like a lot of other people are experiencing too. But I'm not having any symptoms, so we don't know what the negative or positive effects of that really is. But that's the problem, right, Tony? We just don't know.
Correct. We don't know. And anytime you start injecting people with toxins, and that's what all vaccines are. I mean, you look up the definition of a toxin or biological agent, and vaccines fall into that same category because they put the antigen or the toxin or in the shot. So it's actually listed as a biological weapon, or falls in the category. But because the government is deeply involved in it, they have chosen to call it a countermeasure instead of classified as a biological weapon, and therefore, with it being a countermeasure, it is suitable for injection into the American people.
Yeah. Well, we've got a question from our live audience. Let's go ahead and go over there. Shell is our host. Let's go ahead and take that question.
We have Wibster.
Thank you, Shell. Thank you, Colonel. Thank you, Staff Sergeant. I have a question that I don't want to steal any of the Colonel's thunder in case he was saving this for the second part of the show. But I noticed, Staff Sergeant, that you had a civil rights lawsuit against the Alabama National Guard. And I know you're probably limited as to what you can talk and not talk about that. But is this an avenue that you would recommend to others that are similar in a similar boat as you?
Yes, sir. It is, and I do have one. It's actually against the Guard and my commander and mission support group commander. So I am limited on what I can say. I have filed this. Everyone has been served, and right now we're just waiting on their response to the summons, and then the court date and all that. But so the constitutional rights of all the service members, and along with all the people in the country, are spelled out specifically in the Constitution, and they were put there by the founding fathers to ensure that we were not denied those rights. And those rights are the same rights that every person in the military swears an oath to uphold and protect and defend. And that Constitution is what they swear an oath to support, first and foremost. And so for us to be in the military and support the Constitution and the rights that are spelled out in there that were God-given, not government-given, it does not make any sense for those members that are within the military to not have those same rights and privileges that they are sworn to defend, and that they voluntarily join the military as what, this is a volunteer force. We voluntarily join to uphold and support and defend that Constitution and secure those rights for all, not just the people that are not in the military or not in government service. They're for everyone, which includes us. So yes, do I think you should file? Yes, because we all have that right to have our rights protected, and you can choose to go down and get a lawyer to help you defend it, or you can do it yourself. And the Constitution gives you that right either way. So
absolutely. We've got to take another break. When we come back, I want to dive into that a little bit and see if it was the difference between you being a guardsman or as part of the active duty federal force made any difference in whether you could file that lawsuit or not. That's very interesting. We'll be right back with Technical Sergeant Tony Osland right here on Truth Thursday.
You woke up with a sore throat and a low-grade fever. You know you are getting sick, so here's your choices. You can get sicker and miss work, try to see a doctor this week, or sit hours in a crowded waiting room at urgent care.
I have a smarter option for you. Open your medical emergency kit. Match your symptoms to doctor-recommended prescription in your booklet and take the right meds now and get well faster.
This is not a first aid kit. It's like having an urgent care in your home. It includes doctor-prescribed medications to treat over 39 medical issues like respiratory infections, strep throat, pneumonia, UTIs, and more.
No waiting to see the doctor and no standing in line at the pharmacy. It's right here.
Every home should have at least one medical emergency kit, and here's how to order.
Go to worldviewhealthcare.com. Your kit to treat dozens of common and serious illnesses is rushed to your door. worldviewhealthcare.com. That's worldviewhealthcare.com.
The emergency kit available at worldviewhealthcare.com. Make sure you don't have to go to urgent care. I got pneumonia. I didn't have to go. I took this last year. Stayed at home, went to bed.
And what is worrisome to me is that the flu vaccine, at best, was 60% effective. We've been trying this since the 1930s. What does that mean, 60% effective? There are 1 or 2% of the population gets serious flu once a year, or that's about it. A 60% effectiveness implies you have to give about 70 shots to prevent one flu case. And we look at it in medical populations. It doesn't save hospitalizations or days off from work. Worrisomely, is each year that effectiveness seems to be decreasing. It was down to 20%, and last year it became negative. There was negative efficacy of 27% with the flu shot, implying that perhaps 1 in 4 cases were actually caused by the intervention. And we all want to prevent deaths from flu. I've had the flu. I will do a lot to avoid it, but there are other ways to do this.
So I got sucked into this whole conversation as Chairman of Homeland Security when during COVID, I was holding hearings on early treatment. We didn't have a vaccine then. Again, I was hearing about what they were talking about, and it kind of concerned me. So, why aren't we exploring all these existing drugs, generic, they're cheap, they've been proven, pretty safe. Again, no drug is totally safe, and we completely blew it off. So again, I personally, I would like to see the medical establishment, I'd like to see our federal health agencies devote a lot of time and effort into treating disease as opposed to funneling all this money into, again, the almost religious belief in the efficacy of vaccines. I will enter in the record, because I had my staff check it out. For the last 20 years, the average efficacy of the flu vaccine is 40%.
That sounds correct.
I didn't see the negative efficacy, but I did
that's
see.
That's from Cleveland Clinic last year. That's a study on 50,000 of their employees. That may be a preprint study, but
okay.
That is worrisome for this coming flu season.
I mean, we did see studies that negative efficacy for the COVID injection as well.
Yes,
again,
we did.
All that kind of information was dismissed.
Welcome back to the Rob Maness Show. It's Truth Thursday, and my guest today is Air National Guard Technical Sergeant Tony Oslin of the Alabama National Guard, and he's being punished. Has been denied reenlistment because he submitted a religious accommodation request for all vaccines after he submitted one for the COVID vaccine during that time period. Folks, you just heard it right there: 40% efficacy for the flu vaccine at best. And the year before, minus 27% efficacy. It almost seems like, Tony, we're talking about the COVID shots too, which started out as, well, it prevents infection, it prevents spread of the infection and the virus, but in the end, really, it didn't. As a matter of fact, I know people that have had 8 boosters and tend to get COVID like every 3 months. And nobody around my household has seen it in years, as a matter of fact. You mentioned, and something I wanted to ask you about, but you mentioned that your commander, the relationship with your commander after you first gave him a heads up you were going to submit a religious accommodation request for the COVID shot changed. Can you describe that change for us?
Yes. So, first of all, he, like I said, in the Guard, we're kind of like family. So he quit talking to me like in the hallways, and sometimes he would come back to my office before that, and things like that. And then once I actually submitted the paperwork, everything changed at that point. And I have, so during the process of the COVID shot, RAR and the all immunization RAR, I got moved from the position that I was in. They said it was a command decision to make room for someone that outranked me. But if that's the case, then I would have stayed in the same section I was in, and just got someone put over me, a different boss put over me. But no, I got moved to a different section, and then in that time frame, about a year later, I got selected for deployment. Well, not a year later, I got selected for deployment right after that, and so therefore I was going to have to submit more RARs, and during that time frame, I got moved to a different building, which it has turned out to be a blessing, because I got moved down to maintenance, integrated into the maintenance squadron, which is a lot more open, and they're not as let's say I don't know how to describe it, but not as demanding, I guess, on the shot requirements, I would say. Anyway, or look down upon it if you don't want it. Anyway, so I got moved down there, and it's turned out to be a better overall for me, and because the tension, I get along with those people better. Let's just say it like that. because my command, not only did they move me, I started taking away extra duties. They started taking away system accesses. And of course, they said it was because I moved sections, that type of stuff. But I was still the only one that knew how to do certain things. And
Right.
people that were in those jobs that did not have any kind of training, they would come to me for the training. They would come to me to help them in a situation where they were stuck. And so I lost access and would not be able to help them other than just walking them through it, explaining how I would do it or whatever. Anyway, so it's been some what I consider retaliation, what I consider things to try to make my life harder and more difficult on me. So during that same time, I said I put a RAR in for all immunizations. Well, it wasn't long after that I got told that the Air Force changed their policy, and so you couldn't do one for all immunizations. You had to do one for each shot individually as they came due. So at that point, then I got selected to go on a deployment, which two other people in the same rank had already volunteered for, and was told no. And they said they couldn't go, that I was being sent. Even though I had RARs already in, they were unadjudicated yet. And so, why are you going to send someone who is opposed to the shots instead of sending two people that had all their shots and had no qualms with the shots and wanted to go anyway. So it added more to me. So I had to take time out of my time and to do one for each shot that's required. So I did one for anthrax, did one for typhoid. I was coming due for a tetanus shot, so I did one for that, and which still has nothing's been done with it. So once I did the one for the anthrax shot, my commander took that one and sent it to medical. Medical sent to the place that I was getting deployed to, and the area commander over there said that anybody that was not fully vaccinated could not come into the country. So I got, quote, denied being able to deploy. And so I got removed from the deployment at that point. So I waited 2 weeks, or maybe it was just a week, but I waited a certain amount of time, and then I pulled that anthrax RAR back and said that I wanted to pause it. Well, as soon as my commander found out about that, he told me that I could not. He also told me that I had to continue with the process and go meet with medical. So at that point, I reached out to the medical personnel, and they also agreed with me that the shot is no longer required because it was location specific. And since I'm not going, I did not have to continue the RAR or the process of the RAR and the medical review. So I got selected again the next day to go be put back on that deployment. So even though the area commander, AOR commander, said that no service members that were not fully vaccinated could come, I got put back on there just because I wanted to pull back the RAR. So, I mean, you can make your own decision. Was he trying to make my life miserable? Was he trying, what was the purpose behind that? So we'll just leave it at that. And then, so it got to where the only time I was being talked to by him and other members within supervision was on a absolute need or if it dealt with my situation. Instead
Yeah, it
of being
almost seems
involved.
like they're treating you as a whistleblower type person.
Correct.
Yeah.
And see, during
Very
this whole
interesting.
process, Colonel, there was people when the COVID thing came out. There was people coming to me. They knew that I was going to do the RAR, and they knew that I was religious and that I had religious conviction against it. And they were like, "So what is it that you're?" They were asking for assistance with helping fill theirs out. But when it came down for us to submit the COVID one in, we had a drill weekend to do it, and we actually had until lunch on Saturday. So we had 4 hours to do it because the commander was like, it shouldn't take you more than 2 hours to complete this. Well, half of these people didn't even know the format that you had to do it because you had to do it in a specific format that the Air Force wanted. So I had to help them do that, and it just turned out that a lot of them were just like, well, it's just easier to go get the shot. And I'm like, okay, however you want to.
Let's talk some more about that after this break, because the format, I think, is very important, and the process is very important, because if the process is a punishment, then the religious accommodation request really is a non-starter, and will be forever and a day until this the approach to the policy is addressed, so that it's from a positive manner instead of a negative. We'll be right back with Technical Sergeant Tony Oslin of the Alabama International Guard.
Have been fighting against the toxicity of vaccines for a very long time. The ACIP committee today decided that children, adults, and pregnant women should no longer get flu shots that contain thimerosal. And thanks to the fearless presentation of Lynn Redwood, who's been fighting against thimerosal and vaccines for the longest period of time, all of your hard work has finally paid off. And the sole dissenting vote was a pediatrician by the name of Cody Meisner. And I want to read you this. He teaches at Dartmouth College, a School of Medicine, and he voted against 3 motions recommending that children, pregnant women, and adults receive flu shots that were thimerosal free. He said, and quote, "Can you believe this? The risk of influenza is so much greater than the non-existent risk so far as we know from thimerosal." Is this man illiterate? Does he ever read? There are hundreds of articles. There's even entire books written about the problems caused by thimerosal. The monkey studies, the animal studies, the studies with children show unequivocally that thimerosal is a horrible neurotoxin. It's one of the top 3 most toxic chemicals in the entire world. It should never be injected into anyone. In fact, the head of the ACIP committee started the session today by saying, "I'm not that great of an expert in thimerosal, but I know it's a poison. And if you put thimerosal into a cereal package and it said it contained mercury on the box, I don't think anyone would want to buy that cereal. Why would anybody want a vaccine that has thimerosal in it?" Well, congratulations to the new ACIP committee. Bobby, thank you from America for disbanding the pharmaceutical-sponsored previous ACIP committee and putting a new one together. It's a great day for MAHA, for making America healthy again. It's a great day for pregnant women, babies, and adults.
Welcome back to Truth Thursday here on the Rob Maness Show at Worldview Tube. And that was Dr. Sherry Tenpenny talking about thimerosal, which is mercury that's used as a preservative in, at a minimum, the flu shots. And Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr.'s ACIP committee that he created after he disbanded the first one, which is who approves, the group that approves things like the childhood vaccine recommendation schedule and those kind of things, just banned it. And my guest today is Air National Guard Technical Sergeant Tony Osland, who is facing denial of reenlistment. He's been denied reenlistment here in the Air National Guard because he's requested accommodation, religious accommodation for the flu shots, and had done so for the COVID shots too. And Tony, was there any consideration? Have you ever had any conversations with people about this issue, the mercury preservative in the various vaccines? This is not the first time I've heard of it. I've heard it before, but I didn't realize how poisonous that material is to the human body.
I have, like I said previously, there was people that have come to me from the COVID process on, that have asked, what is it about these shots, and so when the COVID vaccine and debacle came out, I started researching shots and the ingredients in them, and it was an experimental. My daughter is a vaccine injured. From my oldest daughter, she's vaccine injured from one of the experimental shots that she took on that HPV vaccine. So I started researching, and I through this, I've looked at all the ingredients and the different things that are in shots, and mercury is a common denominator in a lot of these shots. And there's study after study about mercury being linked to autism, and you'll have people debate it, and there's people on each side that are say it is and say it ain't, and it's an opinion-based thing until there's an actual legit study done on it. But there is a doctor in Oregon that I know, and I think he was he's linked to Oregon State somehow, and he did a study on his own with patients, young patients that he had some that had all the vaccines that were recommended on the vaccine schedule for children, and then he had those that were not vaccinated at all, because there's a growing number of people like that now. And he says, and he's broke out the study to where those that do not have vaccines are more healthy overall, and have hardly any health issues, asthma, sinus trouble, that type of stuff. Even obesity, I think, is in there, as far as some of these vaccines can help create that. And the thing on as a religious side of it is, once we start trying to, because they say these vaccines don't mess with your DNA and all like that, but they do. They're putting DNA in you. I have a list of the
Right.
excipients in all these vaccines, each individual vaccine, and it has, some of them have DNA. Just about every one of them have mercury, and a lot of them have aluminum. And they tell you not to eat a lot of fish because of the mercury count in there can make you have problems down the road. Well, why are we going to put them in vaccines and inject them in everybody?
Yeah, exactly, man. Holy cow!
The whole concept and the logic behind some of their defense, to me, doesn't make any sense if you just look at it objectively. I don't care if somebody wants to get a vaccine, then that's their choice.
Right.
I should have the choice to not take one. And my supervisor, my direct supervisor, up until about a year and a half ago, when I changed positions, he had not had a flu shot his entire time in the military, except for when he first got in and had an allergic reaction. Well, he's been able to deploy, he's been able to serve, and he's not been considered a threat like me. So what's the difference? If one can do it, why can't I?
Yeah. Do you think the overreaction to the enforcement on the COVID shot has anything to do with how you're being treated over the rest of your accommodation requests?
I think it's part of that. I also think that it's more of as far as my command goes, I think that it's more of well, you didn't do what I said. So I'm going to make sure that I'm going to do everything I can to get you out because you didn't follow my order type thing is what I really believe it goes down to. And I think it's kind of everywhere because the different people that I've talked with and that you've probably talked to some of them. I know you've had Major Shipper up on, and there's some stories out there of some people that have been really badgered, really beat down on this. And my story's not. It's not. Maybe it's because I'm older. I got a little more experience. I'm not a 20-something-year-old, and that's how they get these kids. And they come in the basic training, they don't know that they're going to get all these shots, and they line them up and 4, 5, 6, 7 shots in them, and then they get sick, and then before they're done, they get some more shots, and then they're just told by older people whenever they get to their base, oh, well, this is something that you got to do. You're joining the military, you lose your rights. No, you don't. You don't. That's a that's a miscommunication, I'll say. That because you don't lose. You're no less of an American because you join the military and you're serving your country. And so there now, as far as you can't go and sell secrets and tell secrets and stuff like that. But as far as, you have an opinion just like everybody else. You can't do it while you're in uniform. I understand that. But you don't lose your rights. And anyway.
Yeah, it's so got a couple minutes left here. Have you faced any non-judicial proceedings, like a letter of reprimand or any of that kind of activity? Have you had to face that too?
Yes, sir. So the only RAR that has been adjudicated is the flu shot, and it came down. So I submitted it in 23.
Mm-hmm.
I submitted March 23. Well, in February of 24, it got denied. So the process is you're only supposed to have 60 days, but that's 11 months. So the Air Force failed on their part, following their guidelines. And so I had I think it was a 7-day, 5-day time to rebut that. And so I put my appeal in, and it got denied also. And so after that, they told me I had to go get my flu shot. And you're talking about, I think it's April or May at that point. Flu season's over. So I did not. And so I got told that I denied the order. So they gave me an LOC, letter of counseling, and got ordered again to go get the flu shot. So then I said no, because you're talking about June or July, I think at that point. I think it was June. And I denied it. And so they gave me an LOR, letter of reprimand. And then that went on for a little bit. And then they told me then they were going to curtail my orders. And that's when I changed back over to a technician. So I got another LOR. I think I've had 3 LORs altogether. And in each one, I've rebutted and I've actually sent affidavits to those commanders asking them for the constitutional provision that gives them the right to order me to get injected with something. And I told them to respond in the affidavit. It's a legal affidavit, and they did not respond. And so in that affidavit, it said that if you don't respond in a certain amount of days, I think it was 7, then you agree with everything that I've said, and I put in there all the different constitutional amendments. And anyway, so at that point, that's when they said, okay, we're going to take a strike from you. And so they demoted me from master sergeant to technical sergeant. I went from E7 to E6, and that cost me some money. And then now, in this past March, they told me that they were selecting me to not be selected for reenlistment.
Well, Tony, we appreciate you coming on and telling your story. We're out of time, unfortunately. We'll get this. It's been broadcast live, but we'll get a production version of it uploaded to the web. Help you get the word out, my friend. Good luck with your lawsuit. Hopefully, we can get this policy implementation sorted out, because I see and hear reprisal and retaliation when I hear these stories every single time. And as a former commander, that doesn't do any good for anybody, especially the people that are not your colleagues and everything are seeing this. So we appreciate you. Thank you for your service, and thanks for coming on the show.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, Monday, it's more Monday. Captain Jim Fennell, retired U.S. Navy, talking about why we need to build more aircraft carriers, and he's an expert in China. Comes from the intelligence. It's going to be a great show. I'll see you then.
You woke up with a